So who once called Gordon Brown a deluded control freak? It was Charles Clarke.
Calm down. Calm down. First, though, and this I think will be very, very interesting, is Labour lacking leaders, candidates for leadership. We were pondering this yesterday following that poll in the Times, which suggested 55% of Labour voters want Gordon Brown to go before the next election. But if he did, who on earth would succeed him? Who would win at the next election? I reckon they'd want someone young and dynamic to counter Tory leader David Cameron, a very youthful 41. Foreign Secretary David Miliband, he's 42, highly regarded, but, well, I don't know. We don't seem to know very much about him. He has a brother, that's about all I know. School Chief's Ed Balls is 41.
And a mother and a father.
And a mother and father,
yeah.
Apparently. If Ed Balls was to run the country like he runs our schools, I suspect a lot of you mums and dads might think twice before you gave him your vote. Maybe the age and experience is the key. He hasn't done Gordon Brown much good at 57. Would 61-year-old Justice Boss Jack Straw fare any better? And how about a woman? Labour's answer to Thatch. I am pretty partial, as you now know, to Home Secretary Jackie Bunny Smith. There's the picture. Now you know, yeah? That's the drinking game. Bunny, up, bunny. Now, I really liked it when that picture came out. I thought it showed her as being very human. And then there's, what about trusted old favourites we could bring back? Someone who saw Labour to 3 election victories, Tony Blair. I mean, he's not too busy buying mansions. Maybe you've got a better idea, Will. What do you got anyone in mind?
Well,
it's not that easy, is it?
It's very, very difficult because with Labour at the moment, there's no obvious standout candidate who you could say, OK, this person could step into the breach. I think that because of the climate of where we live now, I think it would have to be somebody not necessarily youngish, but somebody of a dynamic character. We expect more from our politicians. We expect to know our politicians like we know our pop stars, like we know our movie stars. So we want access to who and what they are.
And I think you're right. I think we want, not youth, but I don't think we want grey, old,
Grey,
crusty.
old, I don't think will really go down too well, to be honest.
Okay.
I think we want somebody who we can relate to.
Do you think, Will, that we're now looking at potential prime ministers in the way we would pop stars and celebrities, and we want them to be jazzy?
I wouldn't say that it's necessarily a good thing. I just think it's the climate and the times that we live in now, because we are of an age now where there is access to information, there is access
TV
to
everywhere,
people.
internet
You know,
everywhere.
if you want to know about somebody, you can Google them. You know, and I think that because of that, now, we actually want someone who we can feel as though, yes, I can relate to this person, I can rave with this person, I can hang out with this person. But if it's somebody who you feel as though they're completely out of touch, or they're over there, then it's like, you know, it's like they're a dinosaur. It's like, I'm not interested
it's like
in
you
that.
said, Matthew, when you mentioned all these names. I think Miliband would be quite good, but as you said,
because
we
he's
don't know
young.
anything about
but
him.
We think he's on the list because he's young.
Yeah, he's young, and I think he's vibrant. He could be groomed to be the next man. We can't have Ed Balls. Can you imagine the headlines?
Well, that's what I
if
think
we had a
is
Prime
great,
Minister,
yeah.
Mr. Balls. Yeah. He's messed up again. We'd be the laughing stock of the United Nations. That cannot happen.
That's why I want him.
No.
Yes.
I can't believe it. I'm an ex-tabloid hack, and I genuinely didn't see the problem. That just didn't cross my mind because that's such a trivial point to raise. But actually, when you think about it,
Miliband gets my vote. Miliband, because I think, I think you're right. In this climate, where we want to get to know the person, their personality, where they've come from, and he's got the youthful appearance and the young people. As long as he brings his social ideals.
I think we're going down a dangerous road here. I think we're putting too much focus on the leader, and we're getting this presidential kind of mindset, which was never what our political system was all about.
TV, though.
Yeah, well, OK, but, I mean, I'm not trying to shift things onto the Conservatives, but look at David Cameron. He's now seen as a very kind of, you know, attractive option by people because
Kennedy-esque type figure, isn't
yeah, he's nice looking and he's pleasant and he's got a lovely family and all of that. But if we decide, right, OK, we've had enough of Labour, and I can well see why people wouldn't, we return a Conservative government. Mr Cameron might be looking lovely and cuddly down at the dispatch box, but he has got long, long ranks of good old-fashioned Tories behind him who'll be jerking his string like crazy. So it's fine to focus on the leader, but you remember what's behind, and you've got to do the same with the Labour Party. You've got to see what's behind.
I'm just getting stuck on jerking his string and then thinking about Ed Balls. I don't know why.
But to be honest, all sorts of expressions were going through my head, and that was the best one I could come up with. I was going to say they'll have him by the Ed Balls, but...
Okay, I think you're right. I think you're right, Kay, because that is the way to look at it. But think about all the prime ministers we've ever had. They've all been strong personalities. You know, Margaret Thatcher. It was because of her, basically, that people went to the polls.
But then you've got Boris as an example. Somebody's emerged, and you're saying someone you can relate to. How many people in the country can relate to somebody with his background? Really, not very many. But he's got charisma.
And also, having spent or heard for about 15 years of people saying, why don't politicians speak their mind? Why do they hide behind spin doctors? Boris Johnson is a man who can't help but speak his mind.
What's in their mind.
That's the problem.
You know.
Listen, before we hit the phones, Eric hit the streets, actually, to find out who you'd rather have as leader.
What, apart from Gordon Brown?
God. The Labour Party. David Cameron.
To be honest, I'm not sure. I don't know if anybody would at this point in time. I don't have too much faith in politicians right now.
I would say Boris. I'm for Boris.
I think Tony Blair himself.
Well, none of them are making a particularly good job of it at the moment, are they? So I suppose Brown out of all of them.
Who's in the Labour Party?
Eric Johnson.
Eric Johnson? Yeah, he'd be better.
I like that. Who's in the Labour Party? Mickey Mouse. Yeah, he'd do all right. Has he got any O-levels? No, it'll be perfect. Let's make him Education Secretary. Let's find out what you think. Amy.
We've got Douglas from Edinburgh on line 1.
Douglas, good morning.
Good morning.
So, if Gordon Brown was to go, who would replace him? Who would be a better leader?
Why replace someone, particularly like Gordon Brown, who has led this country or been at the back of leading this country for the last 10 years?
Douglas, you just made the point. Douglas, you just made the point. He hasn't led the country, yeah? He hasn't led the country. He was the backman.
With Tony Blair.
Yeah.
They have steered this country through 10 years of great economic times. The media is setting a campaign against Gordon Brown.
Just give me a name, Douglas. That's all I'm after. Who would replace Gordon Brown?
Nobody.
OK, thanks for the call. Let's have another.
We've got Bob from Devon on line 2.
Bob from Devon. Morning, Bob.
Good morning.
Who would you choose, sir?
Well, I'm sorry, I can't agree with Douglas, and in fact, I'm struggling to even come up with anybody in Brown's B cabinet, simply because they're all so miserable.
Well, this is so...
The fact is, I don't think they can articulate with the British public because they have no idea what the manifesto of this government is.
So is this... Because I'm really interested, and Will and I were talking during the break about it, that David Cameron, one of his key playing cards seems to be that he is young and he seems to be caring at the same time, and despite the fact he's a Conservative. And I can see why people are being won over by him. Do we need someone youthful?
It's not necessarily useful. I mean, let's have a look at Boris. Here's a bit of fun in politics. You're going to be talking about people in a moment that are angry.
Yeah.
I think we're also all upset. It's just bad news, more bad news, more bad news. Now, if Mr. Brown and his cabinet are going to take this country forward, please tell us, because the British public do not understand a single word him or his government is trying to tell us.
All right, Bob, thank you very much for that. I mean, it gets back down to the sort of lacking of a leadership issue, which keeps percolating through. But I thought that tape you made, Eric, was just absolutely fascinating. It proves the point over and over again that there isn't a natural leader coming through.
Yeah, but if David Cameron wasn't there, who's your next choice for the Tories? Quick,
Boris.
quick.
Boris.
Oh, come on.
I think it's time for a laugh. After the break, why are we so angry? Not me, obviously I'm over it now. I got divorced. Road rage, air rage, internet rage. Are we getting a lot more wound up these days or what? Are we born angry or are we made angry? If you've got kids, I'd love to hear your theories on that.